Welcome to Philly Coco Presents Side Project Spotlight, episode 116. This is developer's journey into making cool stuff. I am Kotaro.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are Philly Coco, a Philadelphia-based Coco Heads community focused on Apple development that primarily, but not exclusively, means iOS, Mac, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS development. Philly Coco's true desire is to take you higher on your own developer journey. Whew. All right.
Yeah.
Man, so speaking of developer journeys, I hear that we've been vibing a lot lately, or specking. I don't know what the cool kids call these.
What do they call it? Agentic engineering. Spending all of your money.
Slopping it up.
I don't know. What do you call it, Aaron? What do we call? What should we call this era of
whatever you want?
Whatever you want.
Spaghetti code, spaghetti on
Sometimes.
top of spaghetti, on top of spaghetti.
Sometimes. So I guess this is like kind of a little check-in episode about what we've been doing with side project stuff. And I guess apparently it's going to be all about what I've been doing because you guys have been busy with non-side project stuff.
I guess it's more like we're in the ideation phase. So right now we are, how it's been like 1 month-ish post WWDC.
Right.
I've only just within the past maybe 2 weeks begun to digest a good chunk of the DC videos.
What were you doing during the week of WWDC? Did you not do what I do and just take off the week and just consume all the videos?
You know, it's weird. It's like when you looked at the list, I think there wasn't anything tremendously exciting about what? Because a lot of it was very AI focused.
That's not at all exciting anymore.
I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong. Like foundation model and how all the sort of private compute stuff is actually pretty interesting. Integrating that into, but it reminds me of like a lot of work. If you've done a lot of work with app intents, it's almost like a good way to like take advantage of the foundation models. Working with foundation models with app intents, I think is like has potential for like an interesting, for existing apps, like an interesting extension of the apps.
I haven't gotten app intents to work on an app for some reason. I mean, maybe it's because I use an LLM to vibe it up because I instead of doing it by hand, and I was just trying to quickly prototype it. Well, no, I was trying to just like very quickly. I was like, oh, can I get this to work like really quickly just to see get it to show up in shortcuts or something, and just get the plumbing in, and then everything is supposedly set up, but it doesn't show up. So I don't know what it did. This is why I have to go read the documentation more carefully and not let the robot just do whatever it wants. This was literally just a throwaway thing. I was just like trying to see if it would like what the plumbing looks like, and waste tokens doing that.
I mean, it's very similar to like widgets in that regard of like the setup. Once you get it, it's actually like quite nice. But then you have to have a real reason to expose a function outside of your app.
It could be just the way my app is structured. Like we'll talk about it for today, what I do with BentoKit. But the other app that I'm talking about here has a similar design with the Swift packages, and I've had like a lot of issues with like the local packages and how they're set up, and it could be related to that because Xcode and the Swift compiler, I've noticed they just get confused. And it caches things, and especially when you're doing things and doing a lot of agentic coding with the Xcode MCP, it'll get confused, and you just need to clean everything sometimes, or Xcode will crash occasionally because the Swift compiler will do something weird. So it could be related to my app structure, but I don't know what it is. I'll have to give you. I'll just ask you later with some more details.
You don't want to do a live debugging session.
Well, I can't because this is the work app.
Oh, okay.
Not the Bento. The BentoFit, we could. I didn't try to do any
intents
yet, but there is going to be intents in there.
For people who don't know, or is this their first podcast? Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah,
welcome, Jinx. What is this thing you keep talking about? This BentoFit.
BentoFit is the how is that? How do I say this? BentoFit is a HealthKit dashboard app that we released like a year ago almost now.
Yes.
And it's just a simple dashboard to a select group of metrics from HealthKit. We did it as part of the, what was that contest called? Ship-a-ton?
Yep.
And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. You open it up, you can quickly see stuff in there like your average, like your weight and your how many miles you run this week and heart rate and step count, a few of those things. And you can just kind of pick what you want to see. And it has a really basic version 1 that we released. And I am currently working on whatever we're going to call the next version of it.
Which is kind of interesting because
BentoFit.app. If you want to download it.
Yes. BentoFit.app.
Has 5 stars, I think, in the App Store because there's like
3 reviews.
Don't review.
This is
Bob.
great.
Be nice. Yeah, this is awesome.
So,
all 3 of our friends who did not give us any money for it. So
definitely not us. We never did it. Why would we do that? That's a horrible idea. But joking aside, so that was probably the last app that we've ever written that is not vibe coded. That was a handcrafted design. If I up to the point, right? Mostly,
I did use some like what was it like Gemini 2.5 like level stuff, like a little bit of Claude Sonnet. I used a little bit of that stuff, but that was from before the current era, like the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, where the harnesses got better and they, did RL the hell out of the model so that they would more reliably call tools for things.
This was pre-skill, I think. This was
pre-skills for sure.
Was it pre-agent yet?
Well, there were things they're calling agents, but like, you didn't really have it. It was all pretty early. It was the end. It was before. It was a few months. Really, we released this thing September, I guess, of last year, and so it was like November, I think. And I didn't really look at it until December because then I got like holidays and got sick and stuff. And it was like December into January where I started using Codex, mostly OpenAI stuff, and finding some utility from it. So it was back then, the early days. So it was mostly like the chat-based usage of it and a little bit of... I use Aider, which I really liked. I really wish Aider would get updated, but the guy working on it seems busy, so it doesn't get a lot of updates. But I really do think Aider was ahead of the curve in a lot of its design decisions about how to do like this kind of thing as a pair programming environment. And it really... I think it demonstrated that the harnesses were like the most important thing in a lot of ways. Like they're like equally important or more important depending on, in some ways on the models, because I was using like, Gemini, like Flash 2.5 or something and getting utility out of it because the harness was pretty good.
So for people who don't know, what is a harness per se?
It's just the software program that's running that's sending your prompts to a large language model in a loop, and then also provides what's called tools, which are basically just like functions, things that it can do, like read a file, get a directory list, run bash stuff, like whatever. There's different harnesses of different tools and run sub-agents. It can be really complicated, but basically it has this thing called tools and it just runs a prompt to the LLM and gets the results back and displays it, then runs it, back and just does in a loop. So it's the thing that does the little automatic looping that allows agentic, as they say, coding to work. Because when you're doing the chat stuff, you would chat, it would give you a result, then you'd have to like copy and paste or whatever. And then with the agentic stuff, you do a prompt, it gives you a result, and then the harness will then apply the result or send feedback back automatically or whatever. So that's all. And there's different harnesses. So Codex is one of them. That's OpenAI's one. Open Code I use sometimes a lot. Claude Code is the one that's famous that made this a kind of a household concept.
So if you were to say like your current setup or the current tools that you like to use to agentically make your code.
Well, at a day job I use Codex from OpenAI because that's what we have, so you have to use what you got. I actually really like it. I use the Codex app. I also do that mostly at home. I use a combination of Codex, the app, the macOS app, and OpenCode. That's usually, and I was looking at maybe trying out some of the other harnesses, like Pi, or I think Hermes is one too, like some of the open ones. And I've used T3 Code from the famous Theo. And that one just got a big update, apparently. He's doing some video right now while we're recording this. And I use that stuff, but I like Codex a lot and that kind of environment where it's a Mac application and you can have see all your threads and you can do things in this kind of a richer GUI than just a command line, because it's, first of all, I think it renders text better and it can render like Markdown and stuff like that in there, and mermaid diagrams and that kind of thing will just show up because it's just, so it's an app. It's basically an Electron app.
Okay.
And then it's just you get this nice visual sidebar of all the things going on, the projects, the threads that are active. It can like send you a little alert when you like a notification will pop up when it wants me to when it has something to tell me. There's something I need to do, and it's easier to like manage this stuff and jump around because all it is a wrapper around the command line tool. Though that's really what it is. It's for the most part it's a wrapper around it because it uses the CLI tool, I believe, under the hood to do all this stuff. So that's why you can kind of switch between the two if you want. So I use that a lot, and I use OpenCode too sometimes, but I like those GUI things. So like I use T3 code a lot with OpenCode because T3 code works as like a wrapper on top of the multiple CLIs.
So how many layers of abstraction do we have now?
Yeah. That's what I see. 1, 2, does the LLM count as abstractions? 3. A lot. Well, sometimes.
Can you get T3 to write? Do you get T3 to instruct Codex to do something?
Yeah, actually. Oh, you know what I haven't tried though? But that's what it is. That's what you do. T3 will be just a GUI that's kind of looks similar to Codex, but has its own kind of, design, aesthetic, and feature set. And then it will just send it into Codex and then get the response. And I'm oversimplifying it because it's actually a pain in the butt to interface with some of these. And that's how I like to use these tools right now. But for the most part, occasionally I'll do it in Xcode, but I don't really Xcode's. See, I want to use Xcodes more sometimes because it has its own tools in there, and I wonder if they're better in some ways for doing certain things. I don't know, but I find the Xcode environment is so restrictive, and it's like so hard to know what's happening. I don't even know what model it's using at any given point. Like I don't know, like you can't set reasoning levels. Like I guess you have to kind of go find the configuration file, or at one point I had it symlinked outside I think it was buried in the Xcode app bundle or something. I had like things symlinked, and that was like fragile. So I said, F it. The MCP that Xcode has is actually pretty decent, and it lets something like Codex on the command line or Codex on the app just kind of talk to Xcode. It has limitations, but it works pretty well for me. And so it'll run tests, it can run builds and open simulator and do that kind of stuff that you would normally do inside Xcode. And that's how kind of I'm still doing it. I know that that's maybe blasphemous to some people. How dare you use Xcode anymore? But it is a memory hog having both those things running at once. But
I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, it is quite bloated, but I'm so used to it at this point. It's hard.
The Xcode UI?
Xcode UI, yeah.
It's
obviously Stockholm syndrome. I'm no doubt.
It looks nice. But the Xcode like chat interface in the latest one, the beta, the 27 from WWDC, it's really pretty.
Yeah.
It's the animations are nice. It's smooth. I mean, it's just it kind of bugs me a lot. It like asks me for permissions a lot. They haven't so the thing that I like, one of the things I like about Codex, and they probably do this on Claude Code, I don't really use Claude Code much, is you can have this like in between permissions model where I think they have another model that just kind of checks the requests that the harness is trying to do and like approves or denies them for you based upon, I don't know, however they train the model on what is considered safe or not. And it sort of works. A lot of times I still have to tell it to go outside the sandbox to do things, which, by the way, apparently, Aaron, that's all you got to do to break containment of the sandbox. I'll be like, use this command outside the sandbox because it'll be hitting some network thing or whatever. And then it'll be like, okay. And then it does it. And like, well.
Doesn't sound like a very good sandbox.
I mean, I guess it's the balancing act. I don't run YOLO though. I have at least some amount of sandboxing going on. I haven't set it up in a whole VM though. That's like the hardcore way to do it. And we're all probably going to be doing that by next year, running it remotely on some server or whatever. But I'm not up there. I'm not the Alex Hillman level yet of running things remotely.
It's going to be all over the internet, and you won't be able to stop it. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It'll do your work for you whether you want it to or not.
Well, you can. One of the things Codex, I don't know if the CLI does it, just the app, but you can set up Codex so that you can have it running on your computer and then you can access it from your phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know Claude has a thing. I think it works even better than that. Don't they have like their own little server that spins up or something?
Yeah, enjoy this moment while you can control it.
Yeah, and afford it. It's not cheap. It's not because
wait a minute, hold on. Because the one they have is like you have to use their app, right, to actually even be able to do that through your phone. You can't just do it through like iMessage.
Well, apparently T3 Code is about to release a feature that works the same way. They all work by creating like what's that service that Alex was using? Tailwind.
Tailscale.
That's the other thing. Tailscale. They all have something like they all set up like a Tailscale type network of like VPNs that they could create an automatic little VPN network between your devices. That's how they all basically work under the hood, I believe. So Codex has one of those. Claude, I think, has one of those. But T3 looks like they have a service that you can like pay for, or will be able to pay for, or something to be able to do this or sign up for. And so you don't have to use it, but if you use the OpenAI tools, yeah, you have to, like last time I checked, you had to leave your computer running and accessible to the internet, and then it basically sets up like a private like little VPN like connection, pushes through your firewall, so you can do that. And I mean, it is as secure as you're ever going to get. So
you can take your laptop around half opened, you have to
leave it cracked open. You leave it at home. I mean, it's that's why all this stuff is kind of migrating to the cloud. I mean, especially with the RAM crisis and stuff. Anyway, it's just like you can run these things in a cheaper VM. They don't. A lot of the times, like what you're coding, especially if it's web based stuff, do you really need like a whole like an M5 MacBook for Apple development? That's not really that feasible, because you still need to, like, if you're doing an iPhone app, there's ways you can do it, I think, but you still probably better to run it locally. So I do. Anyway, I forgot what the whole point was we were talking about was like.
I mean, we were doing the tangent thing
of what is this? Like yak shaving? Is that what we're doing right now?
Right.
We're talking about it.
But I think you wanted to discuss a little bit before we kind of go into, I don't know, which one do you want to do first? Do you want to deep dive into your usage of Codex, particularly with the BentoFit app? I think that's where we are heading towards for this conversation.
Oh, right. And we want to talk about that because I did an update for BentoFit that I'm working on. And also, I thought we wanted to kind of briefly talk about this article that Mike Zornek published on his blog recently. So when we can start there, as it kind of like leads together, I think. Okay.
So Mike Zornek, who is a old friend of Philly Coco, always hangs out in the Slack, giving us links and memes, was one of the main organizers for Philly Coco for a very long time. So shout out to you, Mike, if you're listening. And he posts a lot on his blog, on his website, MikeZornek.com, and on his blog he has an article that's titled, My Notes on 3 Years of Coding with AI. It was posted on July 16th, 2026. Steve, if you want to provide some context about what this is about.
Mike's has had multiple things about AI coding on his blog, but this one kind of gives like a history, a rundown of how he started doing things in like 2023, looking at it, using Cursor, seeing like a conference keynote, and like, some of his thoughts about this over the years. But he got serious with Claude Code around May, it says here, of 2026. He says, after grinding through the winter doldrums, I decided to actually push on this. I installed Claude Code and started tinkering more seriously. I think it's kind of, a process a lot of developers have gone through the last, less than a year. At least the serious ones. I mean, there's always the people that have been AI pilled, that are like AI pilled, and people that were like really big on this before it was actually all that usable for professional level work. But Mike is a consummate professional. In fact, like I've been looking at his stuff, and I totally steal his ideas about how you should do things, about how you should work. You know. No, and actually, his blog is great too. I need to like vibe up my own version of a blog like this, But Mike's a great developer, and what makes him great, and he's documented all this on his blog. So it's really great that he puts it out there. But he's documented like what his processes are, and the way he thinks about development and his values around this stuff, because he's a consultant, and so he's very thoughtful about his adoption of new technologies. Like I remember when he kind of left us to go into Elixir world, right? And
yes, he did.
Like it was a very thoughtful decision he made.
Yes.
For various reasons. And same thing here. He describes in this article like a very thoughtful process of kind of incrementally adopting the technologies, playing with them, testing them, figuring it out. And then right now it looks like, according to this article, where he is kind of where I think a lot of people are, is kind of borrowing. He started kind of borrowing other people's workflows. And one thing I wanted to touch on is that he's kind of using Matt Pocock? Is that how you pronounce his name? His skills. And Matt is really well known in this space. His skills files are used like all over the place. I use some of them right now, like the Grill Me one, which we can talk about. And so Zorn here talks about using like Grill with Docs. I literally use that today. That's actually a great little skill. And he talks about this and how it compares with his own thinking about this. Some of this is one point I think Mike brings up is that, like, for instance, the Grill with Docs skill uses specific language around some of the files it creates, which are different than Mike would use normally in his projects for similar concepts. But one thing he puts in here as a counterpoint to himself is that may be true, but maybe it's the advantage of using a more, like software engineering type of acronym. Like he's talking specifically about ADRs here. Mm-hmm. Like architectural decision records, because this is one of the things that Mike has done for years that I really should adopt better, which is having these documenting in his projects decisions that architecture decisions you make. But ADR, he doesn't use ADR. I think he just calls them decisions, he says, and is normally. But if you adopt the more computer sciencey term, you might be picking up. You might have an easier time with LLMs, because the LLM will be in the context of the model. Because this is a well-known industry term, it may have a lot more concepts, a lot more like stuff associated with it that might make it easier to work with it, with that kind of thing. So that's something to consider, that it's in this world of agentic coding, you're kind of, the way I think about it, you're working with this giant, database of like everything that they could find on the internet about software engineering and examples, code and stuff. So if you use these models with language and terminology that is well represented, you're going to have an easier time. The Grill Me with Docs thing is actually really cool because it literally just asks you, like, I think it asked me like 40 questions today or something. So you basically are like, you have an idea, you have something you want to build or whatever, and then you're like, grill me on this with docs, and then it asks you. It has a skill which tells the LLM to kind of go down the rabbit hole of all the potential things that you need to make decisions about. It's kind of very domain-driven, design-oriented. It may even come from that. And it asks you all these questions, and it'll base it on the code too that you have too, if you're asking it. In your code base, it'll be like, well, when you want to do this, should the policy be here that I'll try to figure out a specific example. I was doing push notification stuff today, and it's all kind of blending in my mind because you get exhausted doing this.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It's like,
yeah, it was like it was like
instant decision fatigue.
Yes, yeah. But what's nice about it is it asks you one at a time, and it gives you a recommendation. And most of the time, I found the recommendations have been the right way to go, but not always. So you do want to read them and understand them. Sometimes it'll give me a recommendation. I'll open up a sidebar. There's an option in Codex, open like a side chat, which is like a read-only chat with the same context, but it doesn't pollute the main context thread you're on. And I'll be like, "What do you mean by this?" or expand on this, because it'll be not enough information. But anyway, the Grill with Docs, you'll be doing this. You'll be going through these things like should the ID be like named this, because it could be something simple like that, or it could be more complicated. And you go through all these questions until you kind of end up with sometimes a series of like decision records about stuff, and you end up with like this document, like context with like all the answers, and you end up with like a glossary of terms, of shared terms to be applied to things, which is actually really great. So now you have these files which align the way you talk about stuff, concepts, and pieces of your application, so that the LLM can use later, and then you can use that to align your terminology and documentation, align it in the code. And it's very, very helpful. And then you have like all the decisions you made, and then you can use that. There's what I haven't tried is that Zorn mentions here. There's other skills like 2spec and 2tickets. I've been trying to find better ways of breaking down the work. But basically, you could take this discussion you had and you can turn it into the actual work, and then it'll use that as reference material essentially. And it's worked really well to help me think through all the minutia that you might want to think about when you're designing something. Because when you're letting the robots write the code, it's like if you don't explicitly decide something, and even then, it's no guarantees because it's kind of like a slot machine. But
it depends on how many decisions you've had to make in that session. If you've just the quality of the decisions have gone all the way down to like, I don't care, I'll just take your recommendation.
Yeah, that is the fear I had with it. Where
yes.
This is why I get tired by the middle of the afternoon. But
isn't that the thing we talked about a while ago? Is like you do a lot of sort of like reading and sort of going, and then your decision. Like, is that what you? I forgot what you taught.
Yeah,
like decision
like
fatigue or decision.
Like I spent today, like one of these questions. I sat there and probably did like 5, almost like 10 minutes maybe. I was like back and forth with it. And I was thinking about it, and I was like going through the consequences in my mind and like looking at the code because it was like I was like, what would happen? Do I want to do it this way or this way? And I think I ended up saying no, don't go with your recommendation, do this other thing after I thought about it. And that is part of what actual, software development is, or engineering, or whatever you want to call it in software. That's the part that the LLMs, like the LLMs, if you don't do that yourself, the LLM is just going to pick usually like the statistically most likely, answer, and that may not work for you in your particular situation. Often it won't because you have really specific requirements. So, but I really do like that skill because it's actually very simple. If you go and read it on his website, they're actually not that complicated. It's actually kind of the one with docs is like a combination as a domain modeling skill, which is cool. I like that. In fact, I also have used like other really opinionated skills before. The Point Free guys have a set of skills for building software the Point Free way. I like the way that they do domain modeling for Swift related stuff specifically, which is nice. So I feel like something like this that it matches my own thinking, that Zorn is found he's kind of at a similar place in a lot of ways, where he's found some techniques that have just become really common, I think, among developers that are very serious about doing professional level work. Because all he really did was something like the grill, skill here is just ask all the questions that you should probably ask anyway, but you just allow the robot to surface a lot of them for you and put them in front of your face so you could focus at them one at a time, which makes it, while it is tiring, I do think it makes it easier to answer those questions because I'm only thinking about them one at a time, and I can just take a break because it's not doing anything when it's waiting for me. It's not like it's
that happens to me all the time.
What?
It's like, okay, I need a break.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I think that
you're the one slowing things down. It could be working right now. You could be making it work, but you, how in your stupid human brain, needs to make decisions, and it's waiting on you when it could be doing something.
You're the one responsible, not the robot. But that kind of leads into where I think there is a subset of people in the developer space that have gone beyond this kind of thing, and Zorn mentions this near the end of his article, where Matt has a sandcastle project for like orchestrating collections of agents to implement a spec across a batch of tickets, and there's a bunch of different ways people do this.
A great way to spend a lot of money.
Yes, I'm not sold on the whole software factory thing as a way to do all software. I mean, I can understand the whole software factory thing being very applicable to certain kinds of software development, certain things like tickets are an obvious one, like bug fixes. That's an obvious one where this kind of makes sense, I think. But like, I don't think that a lot of software necessarily lends itself well to that kind of thing, because in order for it to work, you need to be able to specify everything really in great detail across a whole bunch of tickets. And then it has to be like a complete spec. Otherwise, how does it know that it's done correctly? Because you have to be able to give it that. Now, I know Uncle Bob Martin basically does this as far as I can understand. He has his own custom stuff that he's created that does all this kind of stuff. And I think there's a place for it, the Steve Yeggis of the world, and then their software factories definitely is probably a thing that we're all going to have to deal with at some point. But I am kind of with Zorn where it's not something I do a lot. The closest I do is I do some, what is the trendy way of calling this? Loop engineering.
Oh my goodness, is that what they're calling it?
Yeah. You know what that means? I told Codex, this is what I did. I told Codex to implement this spec that I wrote. Like I said, implement this and then do these specific things we implement. I was like, implement it, then have a sub-agent review it, then fix the things the sub-agent found, then tell me you're done. So that's, and just do that for and if I told it to do that for multiple tickets, then that would be a loop, wouldn't it? So really complicated.
Do you get it to, so wait, you have it say it's done. What does done mean in terms of does it do the
test pass and then
all the tests pass? It's done. It's PR. It's done its own PR review. It's fixed all the code that has been suggested to be fixed on from the PR review. It's now merged everything. Does it do it? What level of done is done?
I'm not having it do all that. I'm having it implement this thing and then have an agent check your work, so that it basically checking itself, which it almost always finds some kind of bug, and then fix based on that, and then I just do one round of that, and then make sure all the tests pass, and then give it to me, and then I do a manual verification because we're usually talking about an app or something, so I have to check it. Then usually there's something that's not quite what you wanted or whatever, and then you go back, you fix it. But it works pretty well doing that kind of thing. And the advantage of that is you just don't have to sit there and constantly tell it every step of the way, you used to have to do. Yeah. That's what's nice, because you're I want you to do this to generate this code. I want the code generated, and I want the tests to be run. I shouldn't have to tell the robot to do that every time that I need that done. I should be just keep doing this until it's working. Or if you have run into a problem, stop and ask me. Which also one thing I've done with Xcode is I'm if you start getting a bunch of errors that seem weird, just run Xcode clean, and then try again, and it totally works because with the Xcode MCP, Xcode will just give you phantom errors. It is not good at maintaining whatever kind of caching it's using for errors and stuff. So anyway,
that happens all the time with Xcode when you're just using it normally.
Yeah, exactly. Because the MCP is just you using it normally. They just separated some functions into MCP tools.
So so there's no way. Do you have it send you push notifications, or figure out a way to have it say if you're not at your desk, right? And it says it's done. Maybe you give it 5 minutes and then sends you a message or an iMessage.
I haven't gotten that set up. That's a little extreme. I guess I could.
So you're going out for a jog, right? You're doing your 5K jog and you're running.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of the whole, what do they call that? Open Claude kind of mechanic.
Yeah. Maybe I could try that at home. At work, there's not an easy, secure way of doing that because I'm not logged in to my phone and my laptop with the same app ID.
I thought you have both laptops running, and one's for work and one's for home stuff.
Well,
right?
I don't do. During the day, I'm doing
running for work, one loop running for home.
I'm not double dipping during the day. I'm just focused on my day job during the day. I'm still very traditional. I respect.
It's not like you're. What's it? It's not like you're using the same money pool for the same
No,
job,
you're not.
Right?
I have completely separate. I do not ever use my work Codex account for personal stuff. It's only for work stuff, only on my work laptop, because I'm very serious about the responsibility I have there.
So now your home setup.
Yeah.
So we probably don't want to talk too much about work in that regard.
Yeah. My home setup is similar though. I use Codex mostly, but I'm using my own $20 plan right now.
$20. Wait. You're not. Why, come on. Do you want to be a part of the permanent underclass? You should be upping that to 100.
I feel like it.
They probably give you
I spend $0.
Nice. Is that home? You spend zero, so you're just doing no agentic work at all?
I type code like a caveman. How's that?
Yeah, I mean,
when I'm home, I drink beer sometimes. No, I don't. I mean, that, but
well, that was I think a point I was trying to make earlier that I lost was with the older way when you're coding, you can get into kind of a zone. So besides the skill atrophy question about whether you should code by hand at least some of the time, you can get into a flow state more easily. When you're coding by hand, I cannot get into any kind of flow state when you're just checking with an LLM. That's why it's exhausting. And
you get into a dopamine flow state. It's like
I hate the word. I hate when people call everything dopamine. Like we're not like you're such a reductionist thing to say it's dopamine. But no, actually, I don't get that. I don't know.
You don't be like, oh yeah, okay, let's keep going.
No, I'm just then you keep this to work. I don't know. Not like the AI pilled people. I don't know. But
see, you're not thinking big enough.
I'm not. Yeah, that's right. I'm not.
That's why you're never going to get that XDR, man.
It's true.
You got to go all in.
I am at home. I am incrementally doing more and more, trying to get more and more automation of the coding of stuff because I just don't have the time. So I will not be surprised if like next month even I end up having to like buy $100 plan, or at least I'm depends how much money I'm spending. I basically put money into credits. And I'm watching how much I'm spending over the $20. At a certain point, it might be worth going to $100, but I'm not there yet. I'm not spending that much yet, where it's worth going to $100 a month. But we'll see. Maybe.
Doesn't the $100 get you access to the bigger models, or is that
not with OpenAI? OpenAI, everything's accessible. I was using Soul, so I mean, so just to finish up this thing, read his article. It's a great little article about what Mike's been doing. Has a lot of really useful information, pointers to actually useful workflows. He also, at the very end of the article, talks about how he's using WhisperFlow. I'm using to talk to the computer. I do that all the time, but I don't use WhisperFlow. I'm currently using Handy.computer. I think we talked about it before because it's a fully local way of running a bunch of these voice models. And on my personal computer, I'm running like a gigabit-sized Whisper model or something on there, which is actually quite accurate. Which is cool. So I use the voice thing all the time because you can just ramble to the LLM and it saves your fingers. I type too, but like I can kind of go back and forth.
Don't you want to get that new Codex keyboard? Spend that $230.
I looked at that. I was like, $2 to $30, maybe not. By the way, I was just about to hit the wrong stop button.
Sold out too, right?
So one thing LLMs have not saved us from is design issues. So I'm looking at the Riverside, we're recording this at Riverside, and I'm sharing this thing, and there's 2 stop buttons in front of me. One's red and one's purple. And if I click the wrong one, the stream stops. If I click the right one, the screen sharing stops. Which one is which?
You should take a screenshot of that. You should take a screenshot of that. Now looking at that, we're in that meme of like the guy, the sweaty dude that has to press 2 buttons. It's like usually 2 red buttons.
I think I just got a screenshot. If it saved it, save the screenshot.
You could post it as one of the cover arts for this podcast.
No, Dropbox don't automatically save. Anyway, I think this is the button. Let's find out. Yes, I picked the right button. Whew. Jeez, if I was colorblind though, that was very little difference.
What is accessibility?
So we spent all that time we should be talking about that thing and this is the whole podcast just my voice. So I hope you enjoy my voice.
Yeah.
So the other thing you wanted me to talk about was a little bit more.
I feel like I learned something.
Oh, well, good.
Am I cutting out again?
No. I think there's just a slight delay because it's the internet. So the other thing I was using all this stuff, using Codex stuff to actually update BentoFit. Because I need my XDR money. So we talked about this before. I have a list of stuff I'm working on. So I revamped. I did 2 things which are really cool. I showed you guys already. I got themes in there working quite satisfactorily, I think. It's an easy UI to pick some built-in themes I added. The infrastructure is all there. If we want to build new themes, I'm pretty sure I can build pretty easily like a screen to help you build your own themes. In my mind, if I go that far, I'm thinking of the way Xcode 27 works right now, where you can something like that. I haven't gone that far. I just wanted to be able to add a handful of like theme choices in there, and then maybe I'll add some feedback mechanism or something, or maybe I'll add some limited control. I don't know, but I got the basics working. So we have a handful of themes. They're all distinct. It works. I got all the UI.
And there's dark mode versions of them.
Dark mode, light mode, and you can force light or dark regardless of the system, which is one of those things which is not actually that easy. You have to do a lot of custom stuff in SwiftUI for that because there's no built-in way of doing that. You have to I think you have to track it yourself and then basically force all your views to go through some code path to access. I mean, look, doing themes is not easy. I mean, you have to think about it. The way it works, you have to format your views with fonts and colors and spacing and stuff, and so you have to force all of those SwiftUI properties through something that define some observable whatever that gives it the values based upon whatever your theme values are.
Swift out of the box, as far as I remember, does not have a built-in design system out of the gate. I think Android does now, but
I think the closest. You could do colors. You can light and dark mode colors, and you can do stuff that switch between light and dark mode in asset catalog. You can do some, but it doesn't have a design system. You have to build your own. So I'm always building my own design system in code, and it's just exactly what you think.
No. So now, was there a need for building a theme, or is this something where you were I want one?
I want one. I think if we're building something which is a dashboard, for one thing, the widgets on a build are going to have to be themable according to the iOS theming thing. And if you're building a dashboard, I feel like that's just kind of basic stuff you should have in there. You should have some way of customizing it the way it looks, because the whole point is you're supposed to open it up and it's supposed to be a pleasant experience for you to quickly look at your stuff. And I could see why also some people would prefer or see things depending on color. Like if you were actually colorblind, for instance, different ways, you'd probably definitely want certain colors. And so it was mostly just kind of it was like a low-hanging fruit to experiment with what the LLMs could do in the code base and to give me some foundation for future expandability, because what is useful about a dashboard app is there's not a lot of places to go to. You don't want people being in the app too long, because the whole point is the dashboard app. So there's only so many things that make sense, like theming, widgets obviously, and then LLM, the foundations model stuff, and awards and stuff, maybe that kind of thing.
I mean, I would think that what is one thing that you probably would have to consider also is reconfiguring the onboarding experience.
Oh yeah, that has to come up next.
To
That's
allow, that shows, hey, while you're at it, here's do you want to pick a theme? So
yeah, exactly. So the onboarding has to be rechanged. I mean, the whole app is being incrementally re-architected because it needs. Yeah. Because we need to add more more content and stuff in there too. So the other thing I did in more preparation for this, was I had Soul, because I had on a $20 plan they let you use Soul, which is the high end one. So I used that in Terra. I used it to refactor the file structure of the app, and it fixed a thing that I could not fix forever. Aaron, before we started recording, showed me deep in the bowels of Xcode where this button was to do this, I think, properly. But we got the local Swift packages in here, so they show up as a Swift package collection in Xcode, which I think is helping it cache the compile artifacts better. And then also I reorganized all the folders, and they're all folders now, I believe, so that that also helps. That's a thing for some reason with Xcode. You can choose. Oh God, Xcode is so hard. In Xcode, everything looks like a folder, but sometimes it's an actual folder, and sometimes it's a fake folder that's just a reference in a giant plist file or XML file. Yes. And so what you want is the actual folders as much as possible, because that it seems to work more consistently. And anyway, after doing this, I went through a couple rounds. I think I asked Terra first, which is the other model, and to look through it, and I did this for the themes first, and it worked on the themes package. And I was do it for the whole app, and give me a recommended file structure that makes sense for this. And then I had Soul review it and do another round just to kind of compare the things. And then I had Soul just go ahead and do it. And I sat there with it, and that took a while, because occasionally, it broke. It caused Xcode to crash at one point. I had to intervene a bunch of times and steer it, and I had to like tell at one point, be like, okay, you crashed Xcode now with whatever you're doing. So, like we're go and use the command line tools or whatever until you're, tell me when I can try to open up Xcode again. And then I had to and then I was at one point, because the MCP server stops working once Xcode crashes, you have to restart everything. You have to restart both Codex and Xcode for that to work. I was like, when you're at a natural stopping point, this is how you talk to these freaking LLMs now. Natural stopping point, then I'll tell me, and then I'll restart Codex. And like, so, but the Soul model actually takes that kind of vague stuff and that ambiguity and does a really good job at distilling it down to like an actual thing. So it's like, okay, and then when I'm done this, I'll tell you, and then you can restart everything safely, and I won't be in the middle of doing something. And it did that. And It was fine. It stopped, and I restarted everything, and everything got back to place. So anyway, it wasn't a hands-off thing. It was a hands-on refactor, but obviously it's something I wanted to do, and I had started doing by hand in Xcode. But again, Xcode is trash in a lot of ways. So I remember doing this, and it would, things would crash, freaking Xcode crash. And it's like, you get to the point where I don't want to do this because it's just so tedious and difficult to do it by hand with the tooling. And so you ask the LLM to do it, and then it can just do it for you. And I ended up spending, and there's no 5-hour limit right now. Otherwise I would have spent more money. I didn't spend any money on this. I just used up 50% of my entire week's worth of tokens. But there's no 5-hour limit.
You're definitely not token maxing. I think.
No, that is what you'd be doing, token maxing, using up all the tokens, man. It was, $20 does not get you far, but it gets you. You can use Soul to do one big thing in a week. It takes a lot of tokens on a $20 plan right now, anyway, because there's no 5-hour limit for. I don't know why, but there's no 5-hour limit right now. So, it worked, and I did it at night. I didn't have any performance problems. These newer, the 5.6 models are really quick, too, by the way. They seem faster, even on my $20 plan that I'm used to, even the bigger models. They seem pretty quick. I think maybe they're just running on better hardware. I don't know.
Maybe they're finally starting to optimize these things.
Apparently they did. I saw that they got so slammed with Soul that, they did, heavy work to try to speed things up. So they probably are.
So if you were to say the total hours or the total time for you to get for this work to be done, to do these two things,
it was 2 or 3 hours, maybe last night.
2 or 3 hours? Okay,
I think it was a few hours.
That
was it. It wasn't, but it would have taken me multiple evenings to do this stuff. It would take the theming stuff alone, because most of the work was all mechanical. It was I had to test it and see if it worked, and I was like, I don't like this color, or it's not, or this particular element is not picking up the color or whatever, and then I would tell it and it could fix it. But it's mostly identifying all the views and making sure that the theme infrastructure is attached in the right places, and then tweaking the values for colors and things for contrast and stuff that I had to do. And so that would have taken forever to do by hand. Forever. And this is why I didn't do it before I had a good LLM and agentic harness thing, because when I looked into it, I was like, well, there's no built-in, as you said, there's no built-in way of doing this. The closest thing you can get, again, is colors. You can switch between light and dark. So you kind of have to, if you want to really be to theme things specifically, you got to build all that stuff yourself, that all infrastructure yourself. And it's a lot of infrastructure. So,
and of course, you can, if you get into fonts and icons,
and it uses different fonts. I haven't gotten icons yet, but but I have the piping in there, and I have the all the themes are defined in the code in some struct, so it's easy to access them and make new ones, or an LLM to make a new one based on your direction. That's the kind of thing is great for LLMs. Great, the kind of thing I wouldn't have done. Also, I think it was Soul actually fixed a bug that was in there too. It was related to SwiftUI pickers.
You should make it make the widgets.
Yeah.
The remainder of your token usage.
Yeah, I should, because I had it take the widgets and the watchOS thing and just make them stubs, and this happened every single time I've tried to get those to work with an LLM. They just get into an endless token eating loop of not being able to import something and not work. There's widgets and are pain.
Yes,
you'll have to do that by hand.
I might have to do it by hand, at least somewhat.
You might have to type on a keyboard.
Yeah, because it'll constantly get into some loop where I'm including this, I'm bringing this in, that has some weird compiler thing, and then it tries something else, and it just goes in a freaking loop of never actually figuring out why it's not working.
It means the thing isn't in the training data.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Well, cool.
But yeah, it was good. It was a good experience. I didn't really spend any money yet, so that's even better. And I will say
that's the important part.
Yeah, and I would say this is not necessarily the most efficient way of using an LLM with Xcode or for Apple development, but it is the way that I am doing it right now with Codex and the MCP directly into Xcode. Not too much no parallel stuff. Like I'm not having like multiple things operating in work trees, because every freaking time I try to use work trees, I'm confused. Like today at work, it did a work tree and I didn't really want it to, and then I had a whole hell of a time trying to like get it out of the work tree, like back into a branch. Like what the hell is with work trees?
Did it lie to you? Did it lie to you and say, "No, I'm not using work trees. I'm using work trees."
No. It's transparent. It's just like the whole work tree thing is great if you're doing stuff in parallel, but I find that that's not helpful for me. It makes things more complicated for the stuff I've been doing. So I usually tell it to not do that kind of thing. I'm like, don't do that. So that's why you can use MCP. I'll leave you with one more thing about these models, the latest ones. So like Xcode MCP works with the assumption there's one window open. Okay. And then the MCP, the LLM can interrogate aspects of it, like what scheme is chosen, for building, that kind of thing. And then it has some tools like run some test, run all tests, whatever. Now, the problem is if you have something in a work tree, Xcode is not looking at that work tree, the Xcode you have open when you started that session. So I did this. This accidentally happened at work, or this accidentally happened the other day when I didn't realize Soul was running for a few minutes. And so Soul ended up creating a work tree, and then it opened up another instance of Xcode into the work tree so that it could do all the building and stuff, because I told it to use the MCP. Mm-hmm. And like it was like, okay, well, models before 5.6 anyway would not do this. They would just give me an error, like 5.4 for sure, 5.5 I think would give me an error and say, oh, I can't do this because there's no tool in MCP to open a work tree. There's no way of doing this. Whereas the Soul model was like, I'll just open another instance of Xcode, which, I mean, it makes sense. You can just give Xcode the path, which is what it did. And it opened it up. And I remember watching this, like, why are there two versions of Xcode opening up? I was like, I don't know, whatever. And it worked. It actually worked. It built it and stuff, and then it like merged it back. Everything worked with the work tree in that one instance because I was using the most advanced, expensive model on high. So accidentally for like 5 minutes. So, last night I was doing stuff in medium.
No, don't say.
I don't know, but multiple dollars, I think.
How many dollars per minute?
I don't know, man. That's the thing. It's really hard to know how much anything costs. They don't tell you. They're really bad about being transparent about it. You could figure it out to a point, guesstimate, but you can't know it specifically. But anyway, give these a shot. Like if you haven't used the latest and greatest models like Fable, Mythos, whatever they're calling that is it Fable now?
It's fork over $20.
Or Soul. Yeah, for even on, like, I don't know about, I think you can still access on the $20 Claude plan, but it's about to become pay as you go for their Fable model. But right now on OpenAI, you can use, roughly they're, I think, equivalent. You could use the Soul model on a $20 plan, and you can get something done with it just as a trial run even.
Yeah.
And Terra is also pretty good for this kind of thing. It's that also works, and that's significantly cheaper. So, I recommend giving them a shot because, for something like this, something that's like more ambiguous, where you're like, I need to refactor this whole thing and like just do it. And it's a bunch of file moves and Xcode project file changes. Like that's what it did. It was rewriting the project file. Like that's the thing where I will spend money and be like, what is the highest model I can use? And I'll put it on like high and be like, don't F this up. That that's
no mistakes.
Because I have used the cheaper models and I have completely borked the project file so bad that I had to give up and just reset hard. I'm like, I give up. We're going to do this again. I just, so you can completely bork the project file in Xcode.
You should probably have that as an excluded file, but it's not allowed to edit.
Well, yeah, except that I needed it to edit it for this to work because Xcode is so dependent on it to understand references. Like the reference to the Swift packages is in there. So if you can't modify it, then it because there's no. Maybe I could spend even more money and have Codex use computer use and then literally click around in Xcode to do it. But that would be even worse. So I'll take the risk of having to revert something in Git. That's why Git is a safety net for all this stuff. So not too bad.
All right, cool.
So questions, concerns, anything?
No concerns. Well, no questions or concerns for now, but we will continue to observe this journey, Steve. I know we are on variety of different levels of like when we're looking at like Mike Zornek's article again, I find myself closer to the top of the article where I feel like you and Aaron are sort of neck and neck and towards near the 3/4 to like the bottom of the article at this point.
Yeah, I was doing the same stuff Mike is doing like a little while ago.
So I guess Aaron, you're in the middle. Person. Yeah, so Aaron, you're in the middle this time, and Steve, you're at the end, so to speak. You're at the higher.
Pretty soon, we're just gonna create the side project Spotlight software factory agent or whatever, and it's just gonna spit out our side projects for us.
I mean, we'll just be making robots at that point.
Actually, maybe that should be our side project. Create a loop that could generate our side project.
Make me a
put
Gundam.
$200 in. Make me an app.
Yes.
You know.
All right. Cool. Well, that's all we have for today. You can learn more about Philly Cocoa at phillycocoa.org. There you can find links to our Slack group, meetup schedule, and contact info. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is. And share us with all your developer friends. And one more thing. We are going to have another IRL meetup next August the 13th. It should be a Thursday at the Vanguard building in Philadelphia, Vanguard office in Philadelphia. More details can be found in the show notes. We'll have a Luma link. Luma is our meetup replacement, so to speak. So it's a little more lightweight, friendly, and they do come with an app. So also very good and very cool. So I recommend you RSVP there because our capacity is around 30 and we want to make sure that we fill the room up with a lot of excited people. We also plan to talk. We have plans for some interesting talks. I plan to do a talk, just a little preview about sort of ways to get people back into your app via the system or via system extensions like App Intents. Maybe even sticker packs. Who knows? You just have to come and see. So with that, till next time, good luck on your own token maxing journey. We will cheer for you always. Do you want to be a part of the permanent underclass?